Hello everyone, my name is Nino Rodriguez. I'm a game developer and freelance environment designer. And in today's video, I want to share my process of creating a Lightstudy for an environment design. To start with, an artwork consists of 4 pillars, as shapes, values, colors, and edges. And in this case, because I'm creating this Lightstudy, I'm only going to focus on shapes and values. Before I start, I gathered references. So on the left, I have my shape references, technical reference basically, and on the top and bottom I have my value reference and my light shape references. And shapes can be defined by value or line art, but in this case, as you can see, I started with a line art and I'm basically focusing on creating a pleasing composition and trying to find lines that guide the viewer towards that tower or castle. In this case, I wasn't sure yet what I wanted to draw. I just knew that I wanted to have some kind of mountains, maybe a little bit of snow, forest, a tower, or a castle, right? So those are the things I knew. So right now I'm just creating these lines, these shapes, focusing on creating repetition, because all these things, like using perspective, creating repetition, helps to guide the viewer and create a certain sense of space and depth in your image. Once I have the line art done, I'm basically make a new layer, put it below that line art layer, and I'm just blocking in the big shapes that I created. So in this case, that's the foreground, midground with the tower, castle on top of it, and then the background. I'm just blocking those in with values. I'm trying to use my light references, the ones that I have on the top, as a reference, as a base. But in this case, it's mainly just blocking in big blobs of value. So I'm getting rid of that lighter gray in the image, right? The Lightstudy that I wanted to create is a low-key image. Maybe you already heard of that term, low-key. It basically means that there's a lot of darker values in these images. And as you can see there, what I did is I made my value references, I made them in grayscale, so it's easier for me to check the values, right? Mainly with low-key images, there's more of dramatic mood, right? There's a lot of darker values. And there's basically 3 things that you can do to set a certain mood. You can go for low-key, you can go for mid-key, where most of the values are near the 50% gray range, or you can go for a high key, and a high key is more uplifting, for example, right? So use values to set a certain mood. You use shapes to create a pleasing composition, to create focus points, right? You use values to set a certain mood, and then you would use colors to set the time of day, right? Because each moment during the day will give different colors as a result. And then you also have edges as that final pillar. And edges help to set focus on certain areas in the painting, right? So you will notice near the end of the painting, what I'm going to do is I'll spend a bit more time on the tower, right, or the castle, just to create sharper edges, right? And everything else that's not important, I will just leave it like it was, or maybe also soften down the edges a little bit more, right? In this case, I have most of my values blocked in, right? The gray or that main flat gray of the beginning is gone. And I'm just trying to use different brushes to come up with interesting textures and smaller shapes within the bigger shapes that I created. So I wasn't sure yet what I wanted to draw. You will see me changing that area of that castle quite a bit. But by using this brush, I started seeing trees in it. And here I wanted to create, and that's part of the exercise I want to do for myself, I wanted to create darker values in the background as well. Because mainly what you would see in paintings, which is a proven concept, right? It definitely works, is that where people would work from dark to medium to light to create a sense of space and depth. And again, that definitely works, but there's a lot of cases where you can also just put darker, even like black values or colors, right, in the background. And this is an example, right? I want to create a darker mountain in the background. The sky that is peeping through the clouds would also be darker, as you can see in the reference image. And it's not because it's a low-key image that it has to be night or some kind of darker scene, right? The values will make it dark. That's definitely true. But it can definitely be during midday or something. And why would the scene be dark? Because there's a lot of clouds casting a shadow, right? So that's a little bit the feeling that I wanted to create here. So right now, if I look at it, mainly the value shapes being the darker castle, the medium to light clouds, the darker space, the atmosphere, right, behind it, the shape of the mountain with the trees, and then the foreground shape of the larger trees and the pine trees. They're all in place, and right now it's just a matter of checking the readability. So first, what does that mean is that I want to focus on my castle or that tower. So it makes sense for that one focal point to have, in this case, because it's a darker shape, maybe the shadow of the clouds hitting it, and it has a darker local value. So it can be that quite dark, right, compared to the clouds or trees next to it. But because it's a darker shape, I want to put it behind a lighter shape, in this case, the clouds, so it pops out more. And then it's just a matter of focusing more around the area of that focus point. So I'm not bothered about, basically I'm not focusing on the mountains in the back, because that's not important in this case. So I'm going to spend my time, I think, from now on, just refining that focus point more, trying to tell the story more. I'm basically thinking about edges a little bit more, maybe, if you want to focus on that. But mainly in this case, I think I just want to create a more of a logical shape in terms of having trees next to the tower, and basically scale-wise as well, because the cost itself feels maybe too big. And I think in a bit, maybe it happens right now, you'll see me getting rid of that darker castle shape on the left, and I'll just make some kind of mountain out of it. I also wanted to push the light a little bit more in the foreground. So I have a little bit more repetition of my shapes, like a light shape, a dark shape, a lighter shape. And as you can see in the mood reference on top, the one with the pine trees, it's really lovely how you have a lot of contrast between the pure white snow and then the darker trees. So that's definitely a feeling that I wanted to add as well. So I guess that would be it. It's from now on, it's more detailing and basically bringing it to a level of finish. So I hope this was a little bit helpful, and I'll see you for the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.